Okay, this next video I'm going to do is for the technically challenged, I guess you could say. It's going to be taking and working on an HT2000 series motherboard. I don't know if it works or not. I'm going to hook the power supply to it, keyboard and mouse and all that other good stuff to it, and I'm going to see if I can get it to work or not. So if this portion of the video doesn't interest you, I suggest cutting it off right here, because this is a very long portion. I'm probably going to have to cut the video into 2 sections because it's going to take a long time to take and put this thing together the way I want. So, like I said, if you're not interested in computer electronics and you're not interested in building computers and stuff like that, just go ahead and stop the video right here. Okay? Okay, I think I've got all my parts and pieces here that I need. I think. I got all my power cables. I've got the last little bit of my thermal compound and everything. This is the project that I said I was going to work on today. I want to see if I can get this motherboard to work. This is an old HT2000 revision 1.0 motherboard. I don't know if it works or not. It was a system pull. It had a processor in it, an original, just an Athlon processor. From the information that I looked up on the internet, it should be, it's a socket AM2, but it should take a 64-bit processor. At least that's what the internet says. So, I've got 2 processors here. One's a 3200, and I think this one is a 3800. I can't really read it because it's been scratched so bad. But I believe both these processors are good. So I'm going to try both processors today and see if I can get that to work. One of the problems that this motherboard had was this, let me get this out of the way, was this piece right here, which is the, what holds this guy on. Okay. It's the heatsink bracket, and on the original bracket, this toe was broken. So what I did was I took this off of another motherboard that I had that was completely junk, and I trashed that motherboard after I salvaged all the components off of it, and I took this off of here so that I could take and fix this motherboard. At least that's the theory. I put it on here and it matches up. All the holes and everything line up, so it should be good. I don't have a case for it. That's not really a big deal. I do have a 750 watt power supply. I've got a monitor, mouse, Windows installation software. I've got 2 gigabyte stick, a 6400 series RAM. I have a 70 gigabyte hard drive here. It's a Western Digital Caviar. Don't care. This is just a dry run just to see if I can get it to work. And I got the SATA cable for the hard drive. And I've got an old G19 keyboard. So, I'm going to attempt to see if I can get this motherboard up and running just for the hell of it. Just for something to do today. So, let's see what happens. Looks good. Okay, we're going to try the 3200 out first, and we're going to see if that will work. Now, as a dry run, I'm not going to take and put any thermal paste on it. I'm only going to put thermal paste on the final product. I don't see any reason. It's not going to hurt it any at all by not putting any thermal paste on it. So, and this is just a regular copper, or no copper, there's no copper center on this one. So this is just an aluminum base. This will dissipate the heat that I want. And that should be it. It should work just fine. That's it. And we're mounted. Now, stick a RAM. Huh, there is no 4-pin plug on this thing. Can you believe that? Oh, here it is. Got to pay attention to these things. Sometimes they'll try and sneak one in on you. And what this is, this plug pulls apart. You got 2 4-pin plugs. So, being as that's the case, we'll take and drop that over there. And we'll put all these over here. Take one of these 4 pins. And there we go. We have a 4-pin on there now. RAM's in, processor's in, that's in. Now we have to take and hook up power supply. Okay. I have bags of these cords. I'm not kidding when I say bags. I have bags like this, full of power cords. So, now we need to do video. And I got a piece of crap HP monitor. Does what I want it to do. That should be everything except for the hard drive. And I'm not going to plug the hard drive in just yet. I'm going to wait and see if I can get a post boot. And then we'll see what happens. Now here's the tricky part. And this is something I forgot. How do we turn this thing on? Ah, there's jumper pins over here on this side. And being as I'm getting older in my age, I need to go get the magnifying glass and take a look and see which one's the actual power switches. So I'll be right back. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a flathead screwdriver and I'm going to take my magnifying glass, clean it up here a little bit. And I'm going to get in here and I'm going to look and see which pin is the power pin. And I would say it looks like, oh, got to turn it on first. Let's try it that way. We could have a dead motherboard. And this will all have been fruitless. What am I missing here? could be just the power supply too. This is an untested power supply, so I don't even know if it's even any good anymore. So I could get out the voltmeter and check it. Let's do that. And there's a very simple way to test power supplies. Okay, just flip it over to your 12 volt connector, and you grab one of your Molex connectors here. Okay, and this will tell you, put your black to black and put your red to red. That's all you got to do. And look for a voltage. If you have a voltage, then it's working. You can also take your red and hook it to the yellow one, and that will also tell you if you have power. And as of right now, I am not getting any power from this power supply. Or at least on this Molex connector anyways. It's showing 0.06 volts, but that's not right. Something is not right. So let's flip that switch and let's try this again. Black on black, red on red, 0.6. Nothing. Zip. Alright. So here's what we'll do. We'll take this power supply, pull it out of here, and we'll go get a different power supply. See if we can get it to work then. Okay, new power supply. This one is a 450 watt power supply. And we're going to see if we can get this one to work. Power. Alright. Let's try this again. Hey, hey, we have a beep. We have post boot. Yay!
I like that.
So, now that we got that done, now we can check and see if this is all going to work. So the next trick is to take, and being as we've got that set up, this is the 3200 processor. We need to go into the BIOS. F1 to continue. I've got nothing from the keyboard. Might not be able to use the G19 because I know it requires special software to make it function properly. So that could be an issue. I'm not entirely 100% sure. This keyboard was given to me, so it's like, I know it works. I've had it working. I tested it when I first got it. But I'm not sure how to take and get this thing to work with DOS. If it will even work with DOS without the special software. So let's try a reboot and see what happens. And Logitech lit up. It's not going to work. So I'll have to get another keyboard for right now. So I'll be right back. Okay. We'll get the G19 out of here. Set it off to the side. And another keyboard that was given to me, a G15 this time. I'm not a real big Logitech fan. I mean, don't get me wrong, they've got really nice stuff, but my wife bought me a Corsair, I believe it's a K95, I don't remember, but she bought me a Corsair keyboard, and I love that thing. It's got more macro keys than what I know what to do with. So, well, now I can't get the USB to plug in. Lovely. There we go. Okay. So, the mouse is in, keyboard's in. Let's reboot this thing again. Alright. One more time. See if we can get the G15 to work. And if this doesn't work, then I'm going to go get another keyboard. And yes, I'm hitting the delete key to get into the BIOS. Voila! We have BIOS. Yay! Alright. So now, this is an Acer motherboard. Let you guys see this. I know you're not going to be able to see it real well, but we'll, alright. It's an Acer motherboard. I don't think you guys can really see that real well. Yeah, I can't zoom in or out. That's interesting. Alright, so let's get back out of here. Standard CMOS. Well, I suppose we better set the date. Dear, what's the date? January what?
17.
Thank you. Remember what I told you guys about as far as knowing the date? Yeah. 2016, and the time is currently 2 o'clock on the nose. That would be 1400 hours. Okay, that's set. Go into the advanced BIOS. First boot device. Well, we don't have that plugged in yet, so that's not gonna matter. Typematic, we want that enabled. We want that to be 30 characters per second, or 1000 milliseconds. HDD Smart, we want enabled. Silent boot disabled, because I want to see all the post-boot functions that pop up. And that is it for that for right now. That's chipset. Dual monitor support, disable frame buffer size. We'll put that at 256 megabytes. Because we're using the onboard video, the frame buffer size is what affects that. So when I get booted into Windows, it's going to take 256 megs of this physical RAM, and it's going to allocate that 256 megabytes to the video buffer. In other words, your onboard video, when you get motherboards like this, the onboard video has a megabyte size. So you want to set it, if you're going to be using onboard video, you want to set it as high as possible. Always remember that. Rest of the stuff, yeah, you definitely want the system BIOS cacheable. Integrated peripherals, we don't need to worry about. Onboard chipset. Onboard parallel port. Okay. Parallel port is for the old style printers where it's got the big cable that you plug into the back, which plugs into this right here. This is your parallel port for your old style printer. Onboard parallel port would be that right there. Okay? This you don't need anymore. It's old. Everybody uses USB printers anymore. So there's no point in having that enabled. It's just an extra memory address that's not required anymore, so you can disable it, free up that memory address, and yeah, there you go. Just disable it. There's no point in having it anymore, especially if you have a USB printer. Onboard device setup. Everything in here looks good. On-chip USB. It's got 2.0 USB. See that right here? It says 2.0 USB. power management, we don't, here's, in all honesty, with power management, you don't really have to screw around with it. You can if you really want to. It's entirely up to you, but my own suggestion to you people out there is if you don't understand a lot of this stuff in power management options, don't mess with it, because you can really screw up your power as far as powering up the computer. It'll shut off on you at specific points and times, stuff like that. It's just best not to mess with it. It's just that simple. Plug and play configuration. Display first is going to be PCI Express. That's the PCIe X. That's what that stands for. We're going to change that to on board, and that way it won't even scan this PCI Express slot. And I'm not going to bother adding in a video card. There's no point. If the onboard works, I'm more than happy with that, because this is just a trial run anyways. So, PC health status, let's see. We're running at, let's see, current CPU temperature is 33 degrees Celsius. Great. Current system temperature, it says 31 degrees Celsius. I don't see a temperature sensor on here, so I wouldn't even know where to look for a temperature sensor on here. No idea. So we're not going to worry about it. Shutdown temperature, you always want to enable this to the highest possible temperature, which this one is 176 degrees Fahrenheit, 80 degrees Celsius. You always want to have something like that enabled, because should your CPU fan fail, most of the time Windows will blue screen. If the processor gets too hot, it will blue screen most of the time. But why take that chance? What this will do, by enabling an actual shutdown temperature, if your CPU gets at 176 degrees Fahrenheit or 80 degrees Celsius, it will automatically shut down Windows and it will not reboot until it cools off. So, and then that should tell you that there's something wrong. A lot of times what I get from people is when they bring their computers to me, they have the rabid dust bunny syndrome in them. So the thing you have to remember is when you're doing computers and you're fixing them for people, viruses aren't the #1 killer for computers. It's dust, dirt, and debris that's inside the computer itself. That's what's the major killer of computers. When they overheat, they can't get enough proper air circulation, things like that. That's what causes most computer problems to fail. So always a good thing to remember is to take, and if you don't have an air compressor like I do, which I use an air compressor to blow out all of my computers. I blow out my computers twice a year. Once for the winter, I get ready for winter, and I get one ready for summer. I usually do my winter computers right around October, and I do my summer computers for right around, say, May, June, somewhere in there, and then I blow them out for that time. And that's the only 2 times a year that I have to blow out my computers. But if you don't have access to an air compressor, canned air. It's the best you can do. It's expensive. It's ridiculous. I don't understand why people would pay for air. Go figure. But anyways, do what you got to do. Keep your computers clean. It will save you a lot of headache down the road. So the shutdown temperature is set. Your warning temperature, I wouldn't really worry about. I wouldn't really worry about it. And the smart fan function. Now, this is a preference thing. Smart fan function, what smart fan is it controls the CPU speed of your fan for, if the processor gets hotter, the hotter the processor gets, the faster the CPU fan will operate. And I can demonstrate this and show this to you by what I'm going to take is, it says CPU smart fan function, and right now it is enabled. So I am going to disable it. And the reason why I'm going to disable it is because I prefer my CPUs, because I do a lot of video editing, stuff like that. I surf the internet at the same time. I do a lot of multitasking. Lots and lots of multitasking. So I prefer my CPU to run as cool as it possibly can. I like liquid cooling. It's really nice. It's really quiet. But I'm just not in it for the 5-degree difference. I know everybody's going to say, 5 degrees, what? Yeah, well, for me, when I experimented with it, That's the only difference I got out of it between that and fans. So I couldn't see paying the price for liquid cooling. Now, a lot of you guys are going to say, well, fans are noisier than liquid cooling. It's fair. I can agree with that. It's definitely a lot quieter. Noise isn't an issue for me. It's noisy around here all the time. So noise isn't an issue for me, so I prefer fans. Like I said, I'm not worried about the 5-degree difference as far as that goes. Unless you're doing liquid nitrogen cooling, that would be a difference. Big difference, actually. Go for it. That's all I can say. Go for it. So, CPU smart fan function, I disable it because I like my CPU fan to run 24/7, full tilt, keep that CPU cool. And that's it. And we are done in here, I believe. And we will save and we will exit. And that CPU fan should kick right up as soon as it reboots. There it goes.
Wow.
Boot failure, insert system disk and press enter. Whatever. Okay, so we need to shut this thing off. And now we need to take and get a Windows installable drive in here, which we will take and tie that in down. Well, actually we're going to move this mouse down because that's going to get irritating. And we're going to take and install from here. If I can get it to plug in. Well, we're going to have to move the keyboard now too. Alright, so we'll plug that in down there. We'll get the Windows installation in there. You know what? I never did test this processor yet. So we know we've got a 32. You know what? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make it simple. We're going to take and we're going to go ahead and install Windows on this system. Once I've got Windows installed, we'll do a system information for Windows and we'll take a look and see what kind of information that the processor's got. And then after that, we'll shut back down, we'll insert this other processor and see what the difference is. And whatever's the faster processor is what I'll put in the system. And then we'll go from there. So, let's get this hard drive hooked up. Okay. You know what gets me too? Here's something that really gets me at times. I don't understand why people seem to think that building a computer is so hard. It's not. There's no big secret. It's a lot of plugs, it's a lot of cables, and everything just plugs and plays. My wife can even do this. She could sit here and build this thing because I taught her how to do it. It takes like, I don't know, you could sit down with somebody within an hour, 2 hours. And in that 1 or 2 hours, they could build their own computer. I love doing that kind of stuff.
Quit telling people that.
Quit telling people what? That I love teaching people how to build?
No.
That my wife can build computers?
Yes.
Why? It's true.
Well, it's a well-kept secret. It's supposed to be.
Well, it's not a kept secret now, but anyways, okay. So the hard drive's hooked up, the Windows is installed, or the Windows installation drive is installed. That's it. We're ready. We're ready to go. Let's see if we can get Windows installed on this thing. Oh, gotta turn it on first. Voila. Now this is where we got to change something. We have to change the boot options because you want to boot to this drive. You want to boot to this USB drive first. You don't want to boot to the hard drive. So, once we get in here, go into the advanced BIOS options, first boot device. We will change that, I believe. Second boot device will be the hard disk and then a CD-ROM. Enabled. 30 characters. I think when I took an, you know what? I think this BIOS battery is junk. because it didn't save all of my information that I took in prior. Even though I took and shut the power off, it should have stored all that information on this battery. So that tells me that that battery is junk. Right?
Yes.
See? Told you. She can do this kind of shit.